All right, 11 o'clock class. I had mentioned to you that I was going to plot the results of the belief quiz, and I'm going to go ahead and go over this right now. Let me make sure that I'm clear. I had asked y'all 7 questions the other day that were dealing with wallet issues, and I had asked you 7 questions the other day that were dealing with bedroom issues. And I want to make sure that it's clear what I mean by this. When I was asking you wallet questions, I was basically asking you questions dealing with economics. How much or how little should government regulate economic issues? And bottom line, when you talk about a wallet, you're talking about how much government should regulate your money. If we're talking about bedroom, on the other hand, we're really dealing with moral type issues or social type issues. And again, the question becomes, how much or how little should government regulate social or moral types of issues? Now, the basic idea on this is that if you have a good idea of how much a person believes that government should regulate economic issues, and how much a person believes government should regulate moral or social issues, you can, with a reasonable amount of certainty, begin to predict what their political views are going to be. And what I've done is I've plotted your views. I'm going to scan in a copy of this graph tonight so you can take a look at this as you watch the video. But the basic idea is there are 4 categories that are up here: liberals, libertarians, conservatives, and populists. And as I come around, you're going to notice in highlights up here that I've also classified the wallet line, you'll see, and then I've also classified up here the bedroom line. Now, just for point of reference and just to give you a nice sense of things, there's a red dot up here on the board that's the exact center of this graph. And the closer that you are to the center, the more moderate your views are. You'll actually notice up here as we take a look at this, there's Avi, there's Evelyn, there's actually Magdalene and Gabriel as well. All of y'all actually are within one question of the center. In other words, if we would have changed one of your answers, y'all could have ended up in any of the 4 quadrants. So this probably means that either A, you're kind of still figuring out what your views are, or B, your views are dependent upon the given issue. So while y'all may have a certain leaning to one of these 4 categories, the fact is that you could have been in any of these 4, and I'm going to come back to that. Well, here's the thing. If the people that are closest to the center are going to be more moderate in their views, that as a natural consequence would suggest that the people that are further away are actually going to be more extreme in their views. And I've actually circled a few of your names as well. And ultimately, maybe one of the grand champions of this tonight is going to be Nikolai. And I'll come back to him in just a few minutes as well. But here's a general nutshell view of how this works. This horizontal line is actually the wallet line. And this is going to determine how much or how little government you think government should regulate economic issues. So if you plotted and your name is to the right of the vertical line in the center, then that means that you, to a greater or lesser extent, are going to believe, in fact, that government should regulate economic issues. If, on the other hand, you scored to the left of the red dot, then that ultimately means that you are going to believe that government should, again, to a greater or lesser extent, stay out of economic issues. This vertical line in the center, of course, is the bedroom line. And it's the same kind of deal. If you scored above the actual red dot on here, and there were only a few of you that did in this class, you believe that government does need to regulate to a greater or lesser extent the moral issues, social issues in the country. The vast bulk of you, and you probably, 11 o'clock class, had a bigger split than anybody else, scored, in fact, below that red dot, which means that you believe that government should stay out of moral issues and leave that in the hands of the individuals. Let me go ahead and start, and I'm going to break it down really by starting with the biggest category in your class. This bottom right-hand quadrant, y'all are the liberals. And if you'll notice up here, there's Magdalene, there's Gabriel, there's Sarah, there's Michelle, there's Sugar Ray, Michael, Seth, there's Amna, there's Maria, there's Marcus, and then there's Alan. Y'all all scored as liberal. And let me make sure that I'm clear on what a liberal is. Liberals believe that government should regulate economic or wallet issues. They believe, in fact, that too few people should not have too much and too many people should be in need. But in fact, they believe that we should kind of Robin Hood things. In other words, maybe take from the rich, tax the rich, give to the poor. If you remember the other day, one of the questions that I had asked you was something along the lines of government should tax all people the same percentage. Well, if somebody is making $1 million and they're taxed 10%, and somebody is making $10,000 and they're taxed 10%, kind of makes sense that that 10% is not going to be the same, because the person that only has $10,000 in income, well, that 10% is going to mean more to them because that's all they've got. Liberals typically are going to believe that the more that you earn, the more that you should pay. And in fact, the less that you earn, the less that you can pay. And basically the gist is that they're going to want to regulate these wallet kinds of issues in order to help those who don't have enough get a little more, in order to maybe take care of them a little bit better. When it comes to the moral issues, though, liberals are going to believe very strongly in individual freedom. You know, when it comes to things like marriage, it really shouldn't matter who you marry. When it comes to things like abortion, the state really should not have a role. When it comes to things like prayer, if you want to pray, that's one thing, but you absolutely should never be forced to pray. So when you look at this, the vast bulk of the class, and it looks like a good 75% of you, ultimately said, hey, you know what, you scored liberal in terms of wanting to regulate economic issues, but wanting to stay out of the morals. Now, to give you a sense on this, and I'll just start with Michael and Seth. Michael and Seth, y'all scored on the exact same lineup here, and both of y'all said on 5 of the 7 questions you believe that government should regulate economics. On 5 of the 7 questions, you said that government, in fact, should stay out of morals. Y'all are just good, solid-leaning liberals. You're equally interested in regulating both economic, but also not regulating social issues. Like I said, good, solid-leaning liberals. Now, it's a little different when you go to other places. I always crack up when I see that people score on the same dot and they sit side by side. Sarah and Michelle, that's you. Y'all actually, on 5 of the 7 questions, just like Michael and Seth, on 5 of the 7 questions, y'all said government should stay out of social issues. However, on only 4 of the 7 questions did y'all say that government should regulate wallet issues. In other words, y'all are just as liberal in Michael and Seth when it comes to social issues, but you're more moderate when it comes to economic ones. As such, you're closer to the center than they are. If we kind of extrapolate this out and kind of keep on going, there's Sugar Ray down there. And you notice Maria, and there's Michael and Seth, and of course there's Sugar Ray. Y'all are all kind of connected on the exact same line. Y'all all, on 5 of the 7 questions, said that government should stay or should regulate economic issues, basically Robin Hooding, giving, helping people by helping people that didn't have enough by redistributing from people that maybe had a little too much. Well, Sugar Ray, you went a step further on this. On 6 of the 7 questions, you said that government should stay out of people's individual personal business. What happens behind closed doors is their business and not government's business at all. You are very strongly liberal when it comes to social issues. Strongest almost of anybody in the 4 classes. But you're not quite as strong as Marcus anyway when it comes to economic ones. Because Marcus, you're way far away from the center. You have the strongest score of all. On 7 of 7, you said that government should redistribute. On 7 of 7, you said that government should regulate economic issues to help the little woman and the little man in society, whether it be against the wealthy or the corporations or whatever. I mean, you had a perfect score. You know, if you get a test question that asks who in class is most likely to be the socialist or, dare I say, the communist, Marcus is going to be the answer because of this score. So kind of keep that thought in mind. Now, I mentioned to you that liberals believe in regulating economics and staying out of morals. It shouldn't surprise you that, in fact, the exact opposite of a liberal is going to be a conservative. And conservatives are going to believe the exact opposite. They're going to believe that government should extend individual freedom when it comes to economic or wallet issues, whereas they're going to believe very strongly that government should regulate the morals. So with this in mind, when it comes to a good conservative motto, I earn what I keep, so I should be able to keep what I earn. This is my money, this is my property, and government shouldn't regulate it. If in fact other people want more money or more property, then they should go out and work harder and get it themselves. Because you rise and you fall based on your own merits. The more that government gets involved, the worse things are going to be economically. However, when it comes to morals, they kind of have a liberal attitude in terms of regulation, only they're going to regulate morals, whereas the liberals wanted to regulate economics. Conservatives are going to say, we need to regulate these social issues. Why? Because people are going to make the wrong decision. They're going to make decisions that are going to hinder them. People need things structured like religion. People need prayer. People are going to need to make sure that they don't experiment into different kinds of relationships or different kinds of narcotics, or they need counseling when it comes to life issues like dealing with things like abortion. They're going to believe that government should regulate this more strongly. Now, you notice I've already mentioned Avi, and Avi, you are very slightly leaning conservative. You're very, very close, and you could have ended up in all four of these categories. Oh, but Nikolai, while you are a moderate conservative economically, 4 of the 7 questions, you said that government should stay out of economic issues. Kind of depends on the issue with you. However, on 7 of the 7 questions, you believe that government should, in fact, regulate morals. You do have a distrust of human nature. And, conservatives are going to believe in conserving that which exists. And things like religion are going to be, because they've been around and stood the test of time, oftentimes they're going to be a better way of doing things than depending upon the passions of the people. So, Nikolai, you are a very strong, perfect score there. Keep that thought in mind. Now, just to give you a sense of things, and I'm going to come down to this weird U. This weird U is actually dealing with life. It's like a life curve, if you will. And this upper left-hand L, L again here is going to be for liberal. Really what we're saying is that at the younger stages of your life, you're going to be more liberal than you will be than at just about any other point. Now, let me make sure I'm clear on this. I'm not saying that all young people are liberal, but I'm saying that you're going to be more liberal as a younger person than in fact you will be at other times in your life. Think about it. You're younger now. You're in school. It's not like you own a house, or many of you may not even have apartments at this point. It's not like you've got that first big job. It's not like you're married, and many of you probably don't have kids. I say this because you're pretty unencumbered, and you need the help of the government. You need the help of others, ultimately, to kind of help realize who it is that you're going to be and what it is that you're going to become. That changes as you fast forward. So if you go from the beginning where you're going to be more liberal than you're going to be at any other point, and then you fast forward this to the middle stages of your life, that C down there, not surprisingly, is conservative. And if you fast forward, think about it. You probably are married at this point. You probably have kids at this point. You've probably got that first or second great job. You probably have a big mortgage and an SUV payment. In other words, think about the root of conservative. It's conserve. And conservatives are going to believe that we need to conserve or preserve the existing order. You, at this point, need government more, not to help you figure out who you're going to become, but to help conserve or preserve the life that you've already built. Let me make sure that I'm stressing this. I'm not saying that everybody that's middle-aged is going to be conservative, but what I'm saying is you're going to have a different mindset at middle age, so you're going to be more conservative than you will be at just about at any other point in your life. As you get older, you switch back again, and it makes sense. I mean, think about this logically. The kids have grown. The house is paid off. You're retired. I mean, you are really now going to be a little bit more dependent upon the government, maybe for something like Social Security. You're going to go back to being more liberal as you get older again because you're going to need the government more now than you did when you were at middle age. So just to recap, you're going to be more liberal when you're younger than just about any other point in your life. As you fast forward to middle age, because you're going to have more responsibilities and frankly more stuff, you know what? You're going to need government. You're going to be more of a pragmatic or conservative nature to preserve the toys that you've begun to acquire. And then as these responsibilities grow up and as the job retires and as ultimately, you're not making the money that you did as you age, you're going to become more liberal again with the idea in mind that you're going to be more dependent on government at that point. So you're going to be more liberal later too. The third category is actually a minus. There are going to be some folks that believe, in fact, that the government that governs least is the government that governs best. There are going to be some folks out there who are going to believe that the power of the individual, whether it's dealing with economic choices or moral choices, is going to be better, in fact, than what the government can do. Maybe you remember one of the questions that I'd asked you the other day. I believe the government can spend my money better than I can myself. Or maybe I asked you, I believe I can spend my money better than the government can spend it for me. These are going to be the libertarians. The libertarians are going to believe that the individual should be free to rise and or fall on his or her own merits. The government that governs the most is going to be one that's going to mess things up economically. It's going to make decisions regarding moral or social issues that really aren't the best for each individual. Empower the individual and they'll be able to rise to heights that they can't if the government is doing too much. Of course, the problem is that, it's not like they're collecting taxes. It's not like the government is doing all that many things. While you're going to be free to rise in a libertarian kind of system, it's not like there's a lot of safety nets under you. So if you do happen to fall, you will fall hard and you will fall far in many instances because government isn't going to be there to stop you. The ultimate responsibility is going to be on the individual. Libertarians are going to believe that government should stay out of economic issues and they should stay out of the moral issues. And I've got two libertarians in the class, Hasha and Camara, and both of you are actually very, very moderate economically. Camara, on 6 of the 7 questions, you said government should stay out of social issues. Camara, you are very, very strong libertarian when it comes to moral issues, but frankly, we change one answer and you could very easily be liberal. Hasha, you as well, just a little less extreme with the social issues. The fourth category up here is actually going to be a regulate, and we really don't have somebody that is a regulator. There are some folks out there, and these are my populists, by the way. There are some folks out there that believe that we can make better decisions as a government than individuals can make for themselves. They want control, and it's a benevolent control. It's not like they're trying to rule you within an inch of your life, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to make decisions for you so that you avoid the mistakes. Like I said, it's a benevolent kind of thing. And oftentimes there are leaders who will go to the people and say, if you give me the power to do this, and oftentimes they're asking for an incredible amount of power, then in fact I will make these problems go away for your benefit. The danger with this is that once you start giving away power and authority, it's very difficult for that power and authority to come back. Populists are going to believe that government can make better decisions than the people regarding economic issues and social issues. Religion is something that does need to be fostered. We do need to regulate things like abortion and the amount of individual freedom that would be there. We do need to tax, and we do need to equalize, and we do need to make it so that people are going to be protected from guns. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Oftentimes, populists have control issues, and oftentimes, if there is a category where dictators can come from, dictators aren't always bad. Oftentimes, they do some good things at the beginning, but they try and do more and more, and as they do more and more, it becomes counterproductive. If there's a question on the exam, who is most likely to be the class dictator? I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but unfortunately it's going to be Evelyn. And remind me to ask you, Evelyn, if your friends think that you have control issues. Folks, for the exam, take a good look at these four categories and make sure that you are comfortable with the relationship between bedroom and wallet, government regulation and not regulating, and these four categories. Be comfortable with that and make sure that you have an idea of some policy types of things too, policy examples for a liberal or a conservative or a populist or a libertarian. Good luck.